Hey guys, let's talk for a few minutes about how to interpret your body comp data. Because one of the things I hear all the time is, oh my gosh, I'm losing muscle. Look at this test versus last week versus the week before. And a lot of times we get so used to trying to preserve lean body mass, or we've got that huge effort goal of losing a certain amount of body fat. We're looking at that very acute line of data, and we interpret all of that as saying, here's what's happening week to week. And you guys know inter-rater reliability, intra-rater reliability, all of those issues, even the different types of testing you can do. I want you to consider one thing, and that is that you want to plot this stuff over time so you can start to see outliers on your plot graph, but also so you can see more comparatively what you're doing from one year to the next. Because when you're just looking week to week or month to month, there's enough reliability issue that you could be dead wrong. So I'll give you one example. I mentioned that over the last few years with some injuries, blah, 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 I've decided to try and regain some strength. And I knew that would take gaining some weight. So in the course of my professional bodybuilding career, I kept a binder of each contest season, each off season. I had my goals. I was tracking macronutrients, of course, but even my strength and my training protocols was all just logged in there, planned out ahead of time. And I would get different types of body comp analysis. When I was at the IU med school, I had access to hydrostatic weighing. This was back before DEXA was even available, but we did mostly hydrostatic weighing. Now I think some of the bioelectrical impedance are definitely testing, with strong reliability. So I've gone to using some in-body for just ease of use. But I have almost 25 years of data where I can look back and say, even comparing these different methods, let's see what that all looks like on a chart and see what I'm capable of doing and where I'm at. So the funny thing is, when I made this big push to gain strength back, and I let my body weight come up 15 or 20 pounds, I thought, mission accomplished. I'm stronger. My best lifts are back to 75-80% of my lifetime bests, which is completely fine for where I am. So I've done it. But then I got an in-body test, and I looked at my lean body mass, and I just intuitively knew right away, because I've looked at my data for years, that my lean body mass was down. Even though my body weight and strength was high, I should have been much higher. So I thought, wow, something drastically went wrong. Number one, I wouldn't know that unless I was tracking this kind of information over time. But I was down about 5 pounds of lean body mass from my best. So this is going back 25 years. So I started looking at those lines, and it was very clear that year after year after year I was gaining a little bit of lean body mass. So over the course of maybe 10 years, maybe a little bit less, I had gained about 5 pounds of lean body mass. That was the entirety of my training career. And I've mentioned this in other videos, how we really do maximize about 90 to 95% of our strength, or our lean body mass, in a short time, 6 to 12 months of initial aggressive training, and that's really what you're going to get. I know people hate to hear that, and there are outliers who might get a lot more, those pure mesomorphs. But when you look at the shape of your physique, when you're just training for sport or for physique competition, if you're doing that for 10, 20, 30 years, you're going to look drastically different. You're just not gaining as much lean body mass. So on my particular chart, I saw from starting to my peak over about 10 years, I had just steadily, gained a little bit at a time. But my highest one really did kind of look like an outlier. I had all these lines that showed just 2 or 3 pounds, and I had this one that was a little high. And then I got this one that showed a little bit low. So I now have a dilemma. I can not believe one of those two outliers and either be really upset or really happy, or I could just keep going, get some more data, and then see what happens. So I made a couple changes. Number one, once I got kind of ticked that my lean body mass was down 5 pounds, and I'm definitely not ready to give that up as a goal, at least maintaining everything I've worked for, I decided I'm going to do something different. So I came back and I started tracking my macros more accurately. I was already on a pretty big strength curve upward, as I mentioned, but I added an extra serving of protein a day. Just basically one simple change. I knew what my baseline was. I added one meal, and I went back and got tested, and I had regained 5 pounds of lean body mass. I had lost 5 pounds of body fat, gained 5 pounds of lean body mass, and so my net loss was actually like 0.2 pounds. But I was pretty thrilled, right? But I thought, well, now that could be the outlier because that's kind of high. And so I'm going to wait a couple days, change hydration a little bit, training, all of that, just to check the reliability. And the second one a couple days later also came back 5 pounds high. So the one I did 3 months ago could have been kind of a false low, or these I doubt with two of them kind of back to back that would be a false high. But needless to say, crisis averted. I've regained my lost lean body mass. But what I really want to emphasize is if you're just looking from test to test, week to week, you're never going to know exactly where you are. This is why I like, even with clients that's weighing on the scale, definitely get a lot of data points over time. If you're weighing yourself every single day, you don't have to worry about one being high or low. You can look at your net weekly average. But when I'm comparing lean body mass and body fat mass from year to year to year, I can look at the exact context. I can say that, okay, here's where I was 160 pounds, and 5 years later, 20 years later, here's where I'm 160 pounds, or 180 versus 180. Or I can compare 4% body fat to 4% body fat, 12% body fat to 12% body fat. When you're doing that, you can really track your progress over time. And as I said, you can see what your body's really capable of. You can always check in with yourself and again, adjust goals and so forth. But that's the best part about tracking that kind of data over time. I just want to make sure that you're not looking so closely at the minutia week to week or month to month where you're just not going to get the best information, but you start plotting it long term, make some charts, some graphs over time, and that'll really help you kind of adjust your goal making a little bit. So thanks guys, we'll check back in another time.